The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, welcome to the weekly Noyantis Usergroup meeting. Today is the 4th of February 2019. Myself and John are present. As always, if anyone's got any ideas or questions or problems or just want to generally chat through things, then by all means raise your hand and we'll cover the topic accordingly. While we're waiting for those to come through, we'll give you a quick update. Apologies for not holding the webinar last week. Basically, we just inundated with quite a bit of work, and we had to switch to working on a particular client system. So apologies for that. It's not the norm, but it had to take precedence, unfortunately. Okay, so updates. Updates that are currently in progress are changes to the report control. Now we've spoke about these in the past, and basically it could be actually a couple of these sets of updates, maybe John, could be the topic of a Friday webinar, because a couple of them are going to be quite involved from a feature point of view. I mean, we can cover the technicalities here on the on the weekly one, but just from an overview point of view, the report control and both the calendar are having some nice enhancements to them. So maybe a Friday webinar at some point in March, if possible. Might be worth
I guess we have the 22nd of February is open, and actually we're going to be broadcasting from the Noyantis studios on the 8th of March.
We are. Yes, we are. We could do one live. Oh my days! I never thought of that. Genuinely, never thought of that. That's not bad. Yes, shall we?
Yep. Let's make that yours right there.
Oh my days. Okay, very good. And you'll be here live with it as well, so that'll be...
I'll be right there, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Oh, well, we'll come into that in a second. But yes, basically, what we've got is an update coming out to the report control. We've covered parts of it here in the weekly webinars, and they are related to some data binding enhancements, but also this the related records enhancements. Again, we've covered them in the past, so I don't really want to recover them here, but they do add real good functionality to the report control. The reason it's not released, I wanted to get it released last week, is I have a particular application where I'm using the data binding. I've got my new related record buttons, so I've got the insert, change, delete buttons on there and so on, and I've got some default grouping. And I just noticed a bug when I called the update form, which of course it calls it all automatically for you, calls the update form, and when it returns back, there was a bug basically which I still got to look at. So that's the changes. There are others in changes as well, all to do with report control, and that will be released imminently. Definitely, I haven't been able to do it today because of some other thing which I'll cover in a second, but it will be imminently. The next update is to do with the Chilkat wrapper, and actually this is courtesy of Bijan. I will actually quickly open his mic and put him on the spot. So your mic's open there, Bijan. But basically, you've got Bijan to thank for forcing this up the development schedule, and it's the introduction. Obviously, the Chilkat wrapper provides lots of functionality as we've covered in the past. One of the functions on there is the QuickBooks interface, and basically now it will also include the links to payment methods and payments. So I was just actually working on updating the demo application to demonstrate the downloading and uploading of both payments and payment methods. So what we mean by this, if I bring one of these into focus, is as we say, these are the different types of transactions under QuickBooks, and you can see there's lots, but we're starting to get quite a collection, and these are by far the more common types of ones which you will need. So, for example, account, which are your general ledger accounts, bill pay, not bill, yeah, bills, class definitions, currencies, credit memos, customers, just taking a quick look, employees, invoice, journal entries, and the new ones which have just been added are payment and payment methods. So now you'll be able to bring down the different types of payment methods. Say, for example, credit card, PayPal definition, that is, of course, maybe Visa, MasterCard, Diners Club there, that type of thing. So they're your payment methods. And then basically to go hand in hand with that would be the actual payments. So you can see that a payment would be able to come down, how much who the payment was for, which account, the date, amount, so on and so forth, and then optionally the lines that it's linked to. So you can see that their example here has a payment of £65, £10 been left unapplied, £55 has been allocated. Well, pound, these could be dollars, but basically the total amount is 65, 10 is unallocated, 55 has been allocated against, and if we look at the line, we could be able to see, forget the line EX, you don't need that. It's here, the link transaction 70, the invoice ID 70 invoice. So that's basically, you will be able to download payments and see what they're allocated against, and upload a new payment, and allocate it against invoices or bills, so on and so forth. So that release is again imminent. Literally just at the bit where we are doing the testing and the updated demo application. So once that's done, that will be made available. And of course, we also have vendor and vendor credits, which we already covered previously. Okay, and then last but not least, I'm just trying to see if Michael's here. So Bijan, before we move on, like I say, we've got you to thank for pushing it up the development schedule.
Hi.
Hi, Bijan.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Yes, fine, thank you.
Yes, yeah, looking great. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. So, yes, so if there were multiple payments recorded against an invoice, like say if there was a first initial deposit with a credit card and then they paid the second payment and the third payment, it would be able to track those and be able to update if the payment doesn't exist in the QuickBooks, right?
Well, if we take that back a level, so you had the invoice, so you would upload an invoice. So we're looking at the raw Intuit developer. Okay, I'll show you the class method that you would do for this. So you would have an invoice, okay, and you can see there's various elements to the actual particular invoice. But all you would really do is prime up the invoice group. So if we have a look at, and again, the example app has this. So you can prime up the invoice group. So you can say which document number it is, what date, so on and so forth, the billing address, the customer reference that you want it to go against. So let's say Noyantis is customer 10. So you would say the customer reference value is 10. Okay, so it links to via its ID the whole of not just QuickBooks, a lot of these accounting systems and just online systems work via linking of IDs or GUIDs and so on. So you would link by the value, customer reference. You would give it a value and so on and so forth, and maybe some lines for the invoice. But the overall amount would be the overall thing would be you have uploaded an invoice for, and I'm going to use pounds as an example here. £100 against Noyantis. So, and you maybe you've got an outstanding value on that invoice for £100. Now you said multiple payments against it, so maybe someone's given a deposit, and then so okay, so you could then, I think actually you can No, let's just work it nice and simple. So that's the invoice. So you would prime up the group and call upload invoice. Sorry, update invoice with the group. Link transactions, you wouldn't have any at that time. The invoice lines, potentially you could have some. And tax, potentially you could have some. And then you would basically call it with an insert record action. That would get you your invoice into QuickBooks. Now, you will also want to do a payment. So that might add it. It's account number 10. That's got the invoice, and that invoice number has come back internally as invoice 789. Okay, because these IDs all really do mean something. So that's gone into QuickBooks as invoice number 789. You would then do upload a payment. So you say update payment. This is the new one. You prime up the group. So this is for account number 10, Noyantis. You would give it a link transaction. So this is £100 invoice, and you've taken a £15 deposit. So you would give it a link transaction to 789 of £15. So you've got a group structure for there. Okay, and basically that would go in as one line of the payment. So actually your link would, they're a little strange on how they do this, but the example will show it. But basically you'll put one line in there and one line in there.
Yes.
Okay, so you say £15 is going in there, and in the link transaction you would say it's going against 789 invoice. And hey presto, in QuickBooks you would have the account for Noyantis would show a £100 invoice, £85 remaining outstanding, and it would show a £15 payment, nothing outstanding on it because it's all been linked to the payment. So that would go in. Let's say that is, well, it doesn't really matter what transaction it is. So then they maybe take another payment of £50. So then you would upload again, update payment, prime up the group, account number 10, Noyantis. The line, yes, give it the line, transaction number 789, which is the invoice transaction number, and you would say basically it's £50 all to go against it. Then in QuickBooks, the invoice would show with only £35 outstanding, with two payments allocated against it, a £15 and then a £50. And then last but not least, you would at some point, hopefully, clear it with the remaining £35, and hey presto, you just do it the same way. And then if you were to look at that invoice, so that's really tackling it from the payment point of view. If you were to look at it on the download of the invoices, so you download the invoice, this one here, you download the invoice 789, and you pass it these empty queues, that would actually populate that queue for you to say that invoice number 789 is actually linked to 3 payments and whatever them IDs are, and it would be £15, £50, and £35.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So the only other question I have is that on the invoice, say for example, they initially quoted them, a price for the service, and they went over, and they're changing the amount. I guess you already have something for this already, where it needs to update that downloaded invoice into QuickBooks with the new amount. Does it update if the invoice number, the document number exists? Will it update that record?
Sorry, say that again. I think.
So for example, we've created an invoice and we uploaded it to QuickBooks already. So there's an invoice number 123, $100, and the customer went over. So now it's $120. When you go to update that invoice record, will it find that invoice number and?
Yes. Yep.
Good, because that's how we were doing it with QuickBooks Desktop, and we were able to do that easily when there was I wasn't sure how this is done in the API.
Just going to log in. So let's show you. I can't show
that
you.
Happens quite often. We have a situation where they go over the time that they initially quoted them, so they have to update the invoice record. Normally, with an accounting system, obviously the accountants want you to make a journal entry or some kind of a debit memo But
No, you could.
QuickBooks, you don't have to do that.
No, they are very good. So, say for example here, this is demo data. So we've got a Noyantis here. These are the IDs that I was mentioning. So, for example, so we can see here 7,800. And you want to actually increase that amount. Is that correct?
Yes, they might be going over that. Yeah.
So, hang on. No, I can't do that. What would I do there? So let's just change one of these lines.
Maybe change the line item, yeah, because probably totaling the top part. Yeah.
Yep, unit 3. So I'm going to change it by, say, I'm going to put it up by £75. $75. We go 1575. Okay. So if we update that, ID should be a valid number, supplied value, line ID. I better. This is a business logic. It's not the. I better have a look at what that is. That's imagine you've got 2 layers. You've got the technical layer, sending the data up, getting the data down, so on and so forth. The class will take care of that. The business logic is where you've got to make sure that you abide by their rules and so on. So obviously, I'm doing something here which isn't abiding by their rule. So
yeah, I understand. But it's that is doable. Okay, that's good.
So, but no, you would be able to change, yes. And as I say, the link would be in there. So I'm just doing the payments and so on for you and so on. So perfect. They will be imminently released.
Perfect. So, awesome. Yeah. And then the other thing was I did see that you have very detailed, like you can even send the line items. That's on the invoice side.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's cool because I know they're going to come to me and say later on, we need to break it down by the type of sale, and so you already have that. Good.
Yes. Yep.
So I did see the line item.
Invoice. Let's just download those again.
Yeah, you have it at the line. Okay, that's great because they're going to be looking for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, you should be able to.
The first phase, I was just going to go with the header, not worry about the line items. But
well, you would be able to. You can see the different things coming into it. So we can see here that we've got a class reference. That reference would, of course, feed back to this type of reference here. So we can see here that you've got these references. So they all linked together.
But I mean, in the desktop version, you had the option of sending just the header, like just the invoice number, description, and the amount, and then you didn't have to necessarily create. Well, you just created basically one line item. You didn't really create you didn't have to create all the detailed records like individual items that you sold.
Yeah.
You could just one. Yeah, I think it's a similar thing.
You can do the similar. It's to do with the type of line that you send up. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
For example, if we was to actually take a look at the update invoice,
right.
This is getting a bit raw here, but we can see here that there is actually a type that you would populate it, a detail type. So you're going to send it some lines, but you will give it, and these is as per their documentation, you could give it a line detail type. So of course you would want the item reference and so on, a group line detail, a description detail. So if you just wanted to get a very simple invoice up there and just send it a description line of Noyantis £100 and just send a dummy line up to say, here is your invoice for £100. That would go up as a description line, which is probably what you say in there and the other, where you could send up just one line, giving the overall amount. The documentation, again, it all comes down to the business rules of QuickBooks.
But it looks very similar to the QuickBooks.
They will be. Actually, I'm sure.
It looks like they kind of follow the same kind of.
I would expect them to. It makes sense. Of course, there's going to be some differences, but raising an invoice and so on, all these things are going to be kind
but it'd be just so much nicer not to deal with another layer. Like we had to, had the QuickBooks Connect with, creating the local files, and then
we should be able to do
much nicer this way.
Let's just see if I can try and create a new one on the fly for us. I'm really not sure I'll be able to, but I'll probably get validation error, but we'll try it. Item 18, whatever, line number 1. Do you know what? Let's try this. Insert. What was that? Customer reference. Customer 68. Fine. That's my that's that account. Again, so you can see how they all tie together. So we'll say customer 68. Document number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 18. I'm going to put a unit price of 10, quantity of 1. Let's just see, will it take that? Business validation, to do with the VAT.
Oh, the tax, yeah,
VAT
definitely.
rate,
That would
okay.
make a difference, yeah.
Well, yeah, because this
You have
is
the same problem in the regular desktop version, also the tax.
yeah,
That's
this is a UK company I'm syncing against here, a demo company. So hence why it was giving VAT rather than tax and so on. Let's have a quick look, see if we can see 18. We said that. That'll do. Discount rate, tax code free.
Yeah. Quantity 1 at least, yeah.
Okay, now let's download all. 21 invoices, and there's an invoice just been uploaded.
Perfect.
And we take a look at that, and it's 18 because of course it's got its VAT applied to it.
Yes. Yeah, I see similarities. Yeah, that tax is important. Yeah, even in the desktop version.
We change that. Okay, ID should be a valid number. Supplied value 2030. Line ID. Okay, don't know. I'm going to have to look at that to see why it's not updated. That'll be something in this example app because it's just a Clarion example app. Why we're seeing that. Yeah. So it
is pretty common for our customers to have invoices that like go over because initially they quote them and then there is some additional charges like room or they may have to charge them 3 hours more. So the invoice amount will vary when the trip is completed. Basically.
Yep. But you will be able to do it.
Good.
So correct. And again, the payment methods. So you might have various methods set up within QuickBooks, and you'll be able to add them, of course, just like we can with these classes and so on and so forth.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
So that's
great job.
No problem. It's actually the working out because I never like to limit anything. Just for everyone watching and for the purpose of the recording, if we was to take a look at these structures, let's go with the difference between the invoice and the payment. We can see the invoice group here. This is as per their docs, so it all matches. I've tried to keep it even in a similar order as the documentation on the website. The only bit I've differed from is I always start them with these 4 common variables which they have and end them with these 2, domain and sparse. But everything else is really in the order that they specify them on the website. So it makes it nice and easy for you to follow. Mm-hmm. If there is a basically associated records, then I've put a placeholder in there so you can read it, and then you just go and find link transaction queue and the link to the invoice lines queue and so on and so forth. Now, interesting in the invoice, the link transaction queue comes straight off the invoice header, the group. So you can see invoice number, our scenario before, invoice 789 for Noyantis, £100 has 3 payments against it, so they would appear in here. Mm-hmm. And the bills do the same, so it's quite common. When we come to our payment group, they've done it slightly different. And I understand why, it kind of makes sense, but I had to rework the working of it. So this is our payment header, our payment group, so we can see what customer, what currency, what payment method, all the usual things. Very, very simple. And then we come to our payment lines, but you don't have the link transactions. Instead, the link transactions actually link to the line. So now I've got a sub queue, and I've got a queue to the sub queue, which of course you can't really, to try and get your head around that is going to be a bit, complicated for you. So all I've done is just expanded this out a little to give you the facility to say, I'm going to put a line in here, line number 1, and in here, I'm going to put some records which link to line number 1. And then if I want 2 lines in there, there'll be line number 1 and then line number 2. And in this queue, there'll be n number of records. Some will link to line number 1, some will link to line number 2, just as you would in your tables, header and lines. That gives us the ability to be truly flexible and unlimited, because I didn't want to introduce an array. I could have introduced an array, give it an array dimension of 200, and straight away we'd have taken up more memory and we would have imposed a limit, whereas there's no real reason to do that. So I just introduced this line number concept, and it works fine. So yes.
Good job.
Okay, so then moving on, so I'll leave the mic open in case you have any questions, because we're going to quickly move on to the next update. So just to recap, the Chilkat wrapper, literally, we're at the testing stage, and they're updating the demo app, and that will be released. Apart from anything, Bijan needs it. So that will be out imminently. The report control is working in one of our applications. So these changes. So I know we've mentioned this. I'm going to bring it back up again now because it's going to move on to Michael's question. So Michael, I don't know if you're around. I shall open the mic up in a second. But there's another update going on. Just going to schedule it. This is an application, but this uses the report control changes. And then it's going to actually do some calendar changes, which we're going to introduce. So I bet in here I've got no data set up because I've just wiped everything. Just bear with me 1 second while I just get some data in. Sorry about this. Oh, crikey. Hang on a second, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate. Let me do it a different way then. This is missing all of the definitions. Yeah, apologies. I've basically the last couple of weeks I was working from a different location, so this has just been remotely updated today. What you actually got here is the report control using data bind. It then ties on to the new related record button, so you can actually see it all in action, except we can't here, unfortunately. One of the why am we getting anything? A little lost by that. Okay, but one of the things, I'll just open Michael's microphone up. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Andy.
Hi. So your question was to do with introducing working hours, if you remember. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So for example, here.
Staff.
Per staff, yes. So basically, we can see here that we might have, for example, on the Monday, we both work 9 till 5:30, but then on the Tuesday, I might not start until 12. So this area here wouldn't really be working time for me, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to put this in, and I will. Before the webinar, before the end, I might see if I can. I don't know why this isn't doing as it should. But basically, so I was just trying to think. what we've got in here is some working schedules, so we can see, okay, from this date onwards, Andy works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9 till 5:30, and Thursday, Friday, 12 till 5:30. Okay, and Wendy works these patterns, and you can even give it particular rotors and so on. That's kind of irrelevant. What we want to do is introduce a way into the calendar of having the working time. So you can say, I only want this person to really show that they work these times. And if someone clicks in, let's say, this area here, which hypothetically I don't work, if someone double clicks that, you want to be able to trap it and not allow the actual booking, correct?
Correct.
So
Exactly.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the actual class itself and introduce a whole working hours mechanism. This will give you the hook points for you to load them in automatically. So where you have got the facilities now to be able to load records. So if I click the 18th to the 20th, it knows to go and load 18, 19, 20. It will automatically call a method to allow you to load that data into those, for that date range. I would probably, in my application, load them into a memory queue, so I'm not keep hitting the table. But that's kind of irrelevant. How you want to load them is up to yourself. It will be flexible enough to allow you to do it both ways. But what will happen is you'll be able to load different working hours against each schedule. So you can say, okay, 18, 19, 20, Andy works 12 till 5:30, 12 p.m. till 5:30 p.m. The time before that, you want to be logged as non-working, and the time after that, non-working. In that time, working, and maybe 3 o'clock till 3:15, you want to give them a break. So you'll be able to put that into that same working hours. So the idea will be that you'll be able to say what the working hours are per schedule for different days. Okay, then the calendar will give, and I'm also going to expand it to allow you to have different working hour definitions, if you will. Working hour, basically, I'm trying to think of the term yet, but the type of working hour. So you could say this block of time on this schedule for this day is non-working. This is a lunch break. This is working time. This is time that I want to be reserved for a special type of booking, and you'll be able to maintain those types of bookings. So I'm going to let you create some definitions in the class, which you can load up during the initialization window, calendar initialization, and then when you go to your bookings, basically it will look at whatever element you're clicking on. So 10 o'clock, whatever, so on and so forth. Look at the working hours and have a look at the type of time. Do you want to allow them to book time there? Do you want to disallow them to book time there? Do you want to allow them, but put a warning message up first? So yes, you're going to allow it, but I want you to put a warning up saying this time should really be reserved for XYZ.
Yes.
So I'm going to expand the class, and that those changes, because I need it for this application as well anyway, those changes are going in this week. So you will get those that hopefully by next Monday's webinar, you'll actually have the update in your hand and we can cover some of the use of it and the usability of it.
Okay.
So yes, basically, rather than do it in this application and send you how we approached it, I'm actually going to expand the actual calendar template to introduce the full concept of working hours. So you'll be able to do coloring of the calendar, checking when they are double clicking, and so on and so forth, and you'll be able to trap that and put your own messages up or use the built-in messages because of the parameters it's already got what you've loaded in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's coming up to the calendar template. I'll just quickly do a quick compile of this and see why that's not going. While we're talking, won't be a second. Can't see where my studio is.
And I have a question.
Yes, fire away.
The working hours
Yes.
is a child file for staff.
I don't. I have them in their own. I was just trying to. SQL management. Why isn't this on this machine? No. Okay. We'll have to come off that. I have them in their own table. I have basically to do with rosters, working rosters, if you will, working schedules. I have a header and a lines. So again, how you design it in your own application will really be up to yourself. You can copy mine, no problem. I allow them to have against you've got your staff table. And then I have a table of basically working schedules related one to many from the staff. So one staff can have many working schedules with different start dates, and then each working schedule can have a number of lines, and you don't need to necessarily have that. I have it so that they could have a particular roster pattern. So week one. Say they work on a 3-week rolling roster. Week 1, they work Monday to Friday. Week 2, they only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Week 3, they only work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then you're back to week 1. Then you're back to. So I have a lined table saying how many. So you would have. So if for that scenario, I would have a record for the staff, me, Andy Wilton. Then I would have a schedule, a working schedule header, which would be start the 1st of January. That's it really, and I give it a description. Then I would have 3 lines associated with the schedule header, and they would be the line, like section 1, week 1, if you will. Section 1 runs for 1 week, and it ticks Monday, Tuesday. I can show you in the design actually. If nothing else, I can quickly show you the design. So it won't be a second. In fact, I've just thought of a thing I can also do here to help myself. So while I'm just doing this. Okay, so we can see our staff header. So from a design point of view, I have what staff member is it for, when did they start, and a description.
Yes.
Okay. Then when it comes to the lines, and you saw a browse there for the particular lines.
Yes.
When it comes to the lines, I can say section number 1, so this is the first week. For 1 week, I would have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, start and end time. And we also allow a location in this application.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Then I would have section 2, so the second record, just for 1 week, and it would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the hours. And then I would have section number 3 for 1 week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, different hours.
Yes.
When you load that into the calendar, it would calculate where you are. So you've got your start date, 1st of January, and then it would calculate what part you are in. So it's got the latest header for the 1st of January. Okay, so what we're in today, the 4th of February. So it would go, okay, 1st of January.
The section field, what is the connection with the schedule header? The section field.
The section.
Yes.
The section is really, I'm just trying to see, the section would be basically, I'm going to have my rota into 3 sections. The first week is one definition. The second week is another definition. The third week, but it might be that they work 3 sections, 2 weeks of one, 2 weeks of another, and then 1 week of the last. So it just gives the flexibility. You don't have to have all this in yours. You can have it as simple as you like. It's just I'm giving you the flexibility to say, oh no, I do want to have these different sections.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, I'm just seeing if I can get this to just on the other system. Won't be a second. I'm on another terminal trying to. I think I've got my server updating, and that's causing me some SQL issues, which is not the best timing for a webinar. So no, it's not coming back to me. So it's definitely got my server. So I won't be able to show it, but basically that's what you would have. So if you didn't want to have all the sections and you just have a very simple working roster of from the 1st of January, this person works Monday to Friday and different hours per day, then you wouldn't need all the lines. I have the lines because I need it in my application, but you wouldn't necessarily need them in yours.
Yes, of course.
So there'll be the embed points, as I say, in the template, which will allow you to load them for a particular date, so it's nice and efficient for loading, and then the calendar template will do the rest. The other thing we had in one of our systems would be lunch breaks. So it could be, yes, Monday to Friday, but you also allow them. They work these times, but they also have a lunch break. So you would have the flexibility to do that as well.
Okay.
So just going to try this on here now, see if I can get this working for you so you can see it live in action, so to speak. Won't be a second. No, the things still aren't set, but I don't know why. So sorry about that. Can't say I understand why that is. So I won't be able to demonstrate. A little confused to say the least, but never mind. That's really it. Is there any other questions I've got? Is there any questions before we move off the calendar? Does that make sense for you for the calendar? Take that as a yes. Okay. So Bijan's got a question to do with the report control, the tooltip. So basically, Andy, I couldn't get the tooltip to work in the report control. Can you please see if it works with your example application? So yes, I'll set, while that's compiling, I'll just set myself up an area to do that. Won't be a second. Definitely is not my best idea to do a Windows update on the server before a webinar. Sorry about this, everybody. Okay, let's just see if I've got this on here now. No. Sorry, it won't be a second, just got an idea. Do apologise for this, just trying to get us working. Just had an idea of what it was. No, okay, sorry, Michael. I was going to try and see if we can still get that working for you, but it's not playing game, not playing ball. But next week we will cover it in the example. Okay, so on to Bijan's question. So put ourselves back to the current version. So the question is tooltips. Let's take a look what the problem is. So I'm going to use not that one. Set it to use 18.6. With we'll try an older theme to start with and see if the theme settings make any difference. See if Bijan's muted you. You've muted yourself, Bijan.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
Okay.
Yeah, let me check mine. I'll check my settings on the theme right now. Just a second.
So I'm just going to copy those themes in. So is it just on one particular record?
Yeah, I just have that LQ, tooltip, and yeah, I'm on 8.6, and I'm using the default theme. So I was using to Office 2010. That's it.
Okay. Let's take a. Okay. What have we got methods-wise? It's a long time since I've looked at this, to be honest with you. Display tooltips, get row cell, set block. Column tooltip. Let's try that first, just to make sure we've got some tooltips being displayed. So we'll go to our report control, column, from, override that, and we'll say column tooltip by Noyantis or NYS. First of all, let's have a look if we've got that.
I see.
Yeah, that's going to bug me. So let's just. Oh. I'll remove that after actually, but it'll do for now. Onto here, there, and from. Yep, come tooltip by Noyantis. So we're getting tooltip from there. That's just give it the default one. Okay. So now let's have a look in the code, see if there's anything loaded for tooltips for those records. Again, I can't remember. It's a few years since this was created. So there's nothing there. So I'm going to set a tooltip for, again, for the from, but for the particular record, if that makes sense. Okay. So we've got a row cell value. I'm going to do set row cell tooltip for that row, for the from, and I'm going to say this is the tooltip for cell from on row and with our row ID, P row ID. Okay, that's just setting the tooltip for an individual cell. So if we hover the from column, cell if you will, for each row, we expect it to be set that way. That's that. That's record 1, record 2, record 3. So that's us setting that. So I'm not really seeing the problem on.
Okay, I just had it at LQ bookings.tooltip equals, and then the value. So maybe that's the problem. I'm using the wrong. You're using the set row.
When you say LQ bookings,
yeah, it's in my queue. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that part of the group structure that is set?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is part of the group. Part of the LQ is part of that queue. Yeah, and I just have it at LQ dot tooltip. That's the problem. I think is maybe it's not.
Just taking a quick look. Set row cell defaults. Does that do anything for us? Add row cell. Can we go through? Sorry, let me bring this into show. So we've got, let's have a look at, you're calling add row, you're passing it the default, correct? A group structure. So that's calling add row cell, add row default cells. That's what's coming in. If that is set, defined order, yeah, okay. Oh. Yeah, it's taking the editable, it's taking the has checkbox, the value and the caption coming from yours. It's not taking any notice of the tooltip. So that's not to say it couldn't do. Mind you, where's it going to get the tooltip from? Yeah. Yeah, you see that is a structure. It could set a default. It could set a default value of the, say, from there. So all that says subject, but I don't think it really does anything for you if you want the truth. Do you know what I mean? Basically, like there, we've given that a default value. That's taken the default for the column header of just the wording subject and received and size. On this one, we overrode it and we said we want it to say column tooltip. Now for the row, we've set this individually, but for these, there is no default, if you will. The best default I could give it is to take it from the subject. I don't think it really tells you much, but I can do that. That's just a one-line change. It's very simple.
Yeah, the event would have been nice to be able to, as you hover, you could show like what date and time and who maybe the person is.
Well, you see, for that you're going to have to use that set row cell, because it's a different tool. You're after a different tooltip per cell, so you would have to set it per cell, which is what we've just done there. In here, after it's added a row, I've done the set row cell tooltip.
Okay, yeah, I see. Yeah,
you pass it the row ID, the column, and then what you want it to say. So if we were to do,
that's the problem. Yeah, I need to change that. Yeah.
Yeah, we was to do this for the subject, and we could say something like today is, and format today, comma D17.
So it's set row cell. Okay, set row cell.
But I'm going to give it a random number. So no. Something like that. Yeah, but basically I'm set row cell tooltip. That's going to give us an individual one. So if we compile that for the subject. Oh, helps if I finish the what have I missed? Oh, close the brackets there.
Yeah, one more bracket. Yeah. I see. Okay, yeah, I can play with that property. I was just using.
Yeah, so as we go up and down here now,
yeah.
Different random number.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but you would need to do that if we can think of a way. And I'm all ears, so to speak. Where's TextPad? If we can think of a way of getting the tooltip as part of that, brilliant. But it's only really taking the value, so it calculates what the default value is out of the group structure coming in, but it's just a value. It's, we could give the tooltip of that value, but you can read it on screen, so that really doesn't help you. So like you say, you'd want the tooltip to really be related information which you can't see on screen, so giving you more information in one. Don't forget you've got the preview facility, which might help. Where's preview? Oh, there, row preview.
Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
You can turn it on and off, so you can see that's it in summary mode, or you can have. Now, what you put in here is completely up to you, so you can see different ones, but that's additional information. But you turn it on for all rows.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay. Can you just quickly just show where you
the preview? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be as the data's coming in. Preview. I'll just go to that example to see where it is.
That is nice, actually. Cool. I'll look at that. That's even better.
Set row preview. So for the row, you can say whatever wording you want to go in there. So it's not per cell; it's for the overall row. So you can see. Mm-hmm. Oh, so that's our example. Our QuickBooks. Yeah, you could put anything you like in there, so it could be as long as short. And of course, if there's no room, then you can see the tooltips. Just make sure you can read it all.
Well, I mean, you remember that I'm referring to basically the tracker.
Yes, yeah, so I realized.
So tracker would have maybe 2 or 3 events on the same row.
Yep.
So
yeah. So So
Would that work for that?
we go back to our simple before. Yeah, that's onto there. We'll add a screen control to turn the preview on and off. So there should be a little window control that you can add.
That's great. I'll try that. That's definitely worth trying.
That's linked. And we'll just add it into here. So, that's actually got some preview text, but we'll put it in here. Some random text with just to show it's going to be different per row, that kind of thing.
I see.
But yes, you could have that with the in the track bar control, which is what you're referring to. You can put that in there.
Oh, you got to think too many.
Can't win, can I? One's too many, one's too less. So back to our simple. Okay, we've got that. And if we do show the random, you can see it's put some different code in just to show that they are unique, really.
Yes. Okay, I'll try it with the tracker control and see.
That would work. It would just, in the track bar control, it would, well, should we try it? Let's just do that. Just use the numeric one. It's as good as any.
Row preview. I see.
Yep, happy with that. Where do we add our data? Never tried it with a track, actually. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, yeah.
Yep, there's our preview.
Okay. But it's going underneath the
it would
resource.
only go under this part. It won't go over this. But you can put individual tooltips on here.
That's what I was looking for.
Well, that is the. So you've got there block 2 added when demo data.
Oh, you must have something already in there. Where did you do that from? Yeah.
There, set block tooltip.
Oh, it's block tooltip. I see.
Yeah.
I was doing just tooltip.
No, it's a block. Basically, terminology-wise, that one. This is a row, of course. That's a column.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a cell, so it's a row cell because it's a one cell of a row. And then when you go into track bar,
it's a block.
Same again here. This is a row. That's a column. That's a row cell. That's a row cell. And then you go into the track bar part of it. This is a block, and that little thing there is a key.
Yes. Is there any way to get rid of this time? I think you call it the time block control, or is that the
if you remember, we did have a quick look, and we struggled. I will have a look again, but it probably won't be this week.
People always what that is, and it's like, sometimes it's like, what does it exactly do? It's like, I still don't know. What does it do?
I think it's literally so you can see whereabouts they are. So you can see it. If you look at the little red line there, as we move this, it's showing you where you are within the overall.
It's on the top. It's very, very tiny. I see.
Yeah, so it's showing you where you are in the overall data.
Notice that red dot on the top. Yeah. Now I can see it. That's amazing. Yeah. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm sure we'll just have to explain it, I guess.
No problem.
Okay, it's good. Yeah, it's great. It's coming along really good. So that was the block tooltip.
Block. Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll try that.
Set block tooltip. Yep. Okay, we've got a question from Bill and a quick question from Paul. So Paul was just asking, he hasn't got a microphone, but is there any update on the release of the report control, which we're just on the update? And Paul, we were saying there are two updates literally imminent. One is the report control, and one is the Chilkat wrapper. So both of those are imminent, as in, possibly as early as tomorrow. And then there's an update to the calendar, which will be hopefully this week as well. So that's the progress on it. The report control I'm using with the new related records and so on. It's really good, but just found one little bug, and it's to do with data binding and coming back from an update form, which is now all automated for you for calling of the forms and so on. Yes, basically we with one little bug there when grouping was turned on. So as soon as that's done, then it'll be released. So I'll look at that tomorrow. Okay, Bill. Hi, Bill. Your microphone's open.
Hello. How are you today?
Yes.
I was going to ask if I missed anything last week. I was gone all week, and apparently I didn't. So
no, I was inundated with work, and I was against a deadline, which I just had to work on and meet. So
anyway, what my question was I've tried using the report control with the Clarion legacy templates and the browse enhancer.
Okay.
And because the legacy templates they only allow for a page loaded list box.
They do, yes.
It's really worthless in trying to use that when you've got more records than what fills the screen.
Agreed.
At any given time. So the alternative to that would be a page loaded or a file loaded list box, which is only available in ABC.
Well, you've got an alternative coming as well. So here's the good news. So, and Paul, I don't know, Paul hasn't got a microphone, but I will just trying to get his attention. So hopefully he's listening. I think he is. Let me just go into the other application. Actually, we'll just take one step back. I'll tell you exactly. It's not in the report control, which is going to be like tomorrow. It's not in that, but the groundwork is all been done. So just let me quickly show you. And Paul's listening. Brilliant. So let's just say, forget the browse enhancers. They do their job. They enhance what's there and so on and so forth. And you carry on doing your Clarion code. Now, one of the things we've just done some changes here is report control simple, and that's just a report control placed on the screen, and you can put the data in, and this is just very crudely calling a local procedure. So this is really crude. Fine if you have something which was kind of static and so on, and again you can use this to get quite detailed data in and so on and so forth. So there's definitely nothing wrong with using this approach, but this is calling the methods manually. This will give you the equivalent of a file loaded or whatever records you want to put in there, but it's a bit of a laborious. So you add a row, then you would set each individual detail, if you will, and so on. So it's not the fastest, but it is by far the most detailed. As Bayesian users, and the best way of using the add row is to actually have a group structure of the row definitions. So what we expand on there is there's our column structures. So we've got a column for importance, message, class, attachment. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fields. So you would create a group structure, 9 entries in there. The first one being the reserved row ID, okay, and then you would have a group structure. So you'd have row ID, then you would have importance, message, class, attachment, from, subject, received, size, checked. When you call the add row, you would want to pass that group structure as the third parameter, and that would get rid of all this code for you and populate a lot of they populate the report control for you automatically. But that's still you doing some kind of loop through your tables or your SQL query or whatever you want, getting the data back and then calling this. The changes which are coming up are all related to this, the data source. So we've now got this manually loaded, which you're using there, data binding, and the queue. The other changes which I'm using, and this is what I think Paul wants to get his hands on and so on, are crikey. Right. You can now, in this example, if you wanted to put some insert, change, delete buttons, you would have to go and put the buttons on yourself, call the form yourself, go and get the row, or do all the records. Now you don't need to. You can just say, I need an update procedure. When someone goes on a row, I want to do an update procedure. Let me show you in my browsers in other applications.
Oh, okay, okay. Now I understand. Yeah. And so like what I was looking at doing was creating a view structure.
Yeah, you see.
And then passing the view to a queue.
We're gonna automate that even more for you. Okay. So let's say, and now this is using data binding. So I'll tell you what the difference will be. But browse doesn't really matter. Staff, as good as any. Okay. We go to our report control. Just let me quickly take a step back and go to the window. And this is how we want it to go work going forward. You would add your report control on the screen. Here's one I prepared earlier. Then you've got the new related records. And of our report control, you've now got the report control update buttons. So just like you have with a Clarion ABC or a Clarion Legacy browse, you have the insert, change, delete buttons, the update buttons. You've now got these for the report control. So you would add that, which would add you three buttons. Okay, on those buttons, there are some options. You say what report control does it relate to? So that's the one I've got on the window. And do I want to add the options automatically to the right click? Do I want to disable when there's no records? And obviously that's really for the change and delete. The insert is kind of always enabled because it's an insert. Do you want to hide it when there's no, hide the other options and so on and so forth, and a refresh. So that gives you start building your right click and so on. You've got others as well. You've not just got the insert, change, delete. You have got a view button. You have got a print button. Yep. So so these are like you've got in Clarion, insert, change, delete, the select button, the print, the view. You've got all those for the report control. We come to our report control, and in our data source at the moment, we next to that, we've got our related record. So in here, this report control, because I'm using data binding, I need to say, okay, this is related to the staff table, and it's that key, and the elements is just one element, and it's the row ID that I'm currently on. So when I double click on this row, I want to go and find the staff. I want to populate the staff ID with the row ID, and it's going to go and fetch that key. And the unique field, because definitely from a data bind point of view, I need to know where to put the answer after, like I say, an insert. So if you've got your staff table, it's auto updating, auto numbering. So when it comes back, where do you want that number to go back into? So I want to go back into my staff ID. Okay, which looks like it's
the data binding could be used with any type of data source, like an
ADO source. Yeah,
a TPS or a DAT file.
If you've got the Clarion ODBC, then yes. If you haven't, then no. But I will cover that in a second. So just at the moment, so we're happy we've got our report control on the screen. We've got our insert, change, delete buttons as purely associated directly with the report control. And we've got a related record specified. So when I double click or I insert or delete, I want it to use this information to get back to the record that's related to my report control. If I double click, I want it to automatically call an update procedure, which is going to be update staff, and I want to give it some parameters and optionally return value. The print procedure, potentially, actually, this is where it's a slightly bit different from the Clarion one, because the Clarion one, I think, for the view, forces you to call the same procedure as the insert change delete does, which I disagree with, because you might want to do that, but you might want a slightly different window for the view. What's the point in showing some stuff which they blatantly can't? It's stuff that they can't change, and it's not of any use for them whatsoever in a view mode or a print mode. So what we can do here is say, if you're updating, I want you to call that procedure. If it's being called in a print mode, I want you to call that different procedure. In a view, it will call a different procedure, and so on. So you can have optionally different procedures. The last one, so that how that hangs together. Last but not least, then, is this is set to data binding. What we're going to do next is have a file in here. So it's going to be a dictionary file, and you'll be able to point it. Again, this doesn't matter if it's legacy or ABC. You'll be able to point it to the table. You've got the columns, because of course, don't forget, you're specifying what the columns are here. So you're going to say, I want to associate this with my staff table. I want these columns, and we will, of course, just like you've got in the data source, data binding has its own tab with all the different options of the data bind. If it's a table, a file, then that will have its own tab, and that's where you will give it maybe a range filter and range limits and a filter and so on and so forth. And what this will do behind the scenes is then go and populate as efficiently as possible the report control. So you won't have to write the add. You won't have to create the group structure. I'll be able to calculate that via the template. Calculate the because I'll know what columns you've got. I'll create the group structure via the template. I'll get the actual data into that group. I'll call the add, and I'll populate your report control for you.
So under source, you're going to add another.
There'll be another option of file. Yep. And you'll have file. You'll say what range limits do you want on it, what filter do you want on it, that type of thing, and that's it.
That'd be ideal. That's better than.
Yeah, you won't have to do any work. But I know one of the other users, Pete, has been waiting for this, but we couldn't add that before having the infrastructure to support it, and of course. The other options like the insert change delete, the other option you've got, the ones which are related to the report control, the update buttons, insert change delete, a view button, a select button, the print button, and don't forget you've had for a while the record button, and I can't see if there it is, record button, which is the equivalent of a browse no records button. So you might want none of those buttons. You might have one which is directly related to create invoice, if you will, which goes off and calls something completely different. Then you'll be able to put that button on there, which will only be enabled when someone's selected a header record like a client, that kind of thing. So yes, basically that's what you will have. There'll be a new option. We added something similar to this to the property grid, where you can bind the property grid directly to a file, and it will automatically populate the property grid with the elements of the file automatically, and so on, or maybe even filter them. So we've touched upon parts of this already in the tool set, and that's exactly what we're going to do in here. We're going to say, okay, you want to load the report control yourself. You want the equivalent of file loaded with a filter, with the standard Clarion stuff you would expect. Sorry, one of the colleagues just going. Basically, with the filter, range limits, so on and so forth, you'll be able to specify them.
I understand now. I just before I didn't realize that you were going to add the file thing. That was
and we are very close to that. Of course, it's the age-old thing, but we couldn't people have been waiting for that. I know Pete has been waiting for a while, but we couldn't. It was pointless doing that without all the infrastructure to support it. Now we've got the entire infrastructure to support it. So all we've really got to do is prompt for the file. We know the columns, of course, because you already have them specified. So prompt for the file and prompt for some filters and maybe some kind of reset. So just like you have reset fields in Clarion, basically what we want to do is data binding lets you bypass Clarion's dictionary completely. If you don't want to go to that extreme, we'll still use Clarion dictionary, we'll still use the Clarion load, get sets and those commands, and so we'll still use all those, but we'll just give you the facility so it writes all the code for you. So you'll bypass Clarion's legacy browse or ABC browse. You'll bypass the browse classes completely and just go straight with ours.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense then. Okay, yeah, then I'll just hold off on messing around with what I.
As soon as that's in beta, I'll get a thing across to you. Would it be before the end of Feb? Big question mark on that, to be honest, because I've got quite a lot on. But you know what? It's quite possible, realistically, because I know there's not too much. It might be that I could send you a beta just so you can start putting it through its paces, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, that just now that if you're going to add the file in there, then that eliminates having to build, because I was looking at having to go build a view structure from the file and then use the view structure and turn it into a queue and kind of do a three-way thing. And
yeah, no, we'll bypass that completely.
Yeah, that makes sense then.
So,
thank you.
No problem. Okay, well, we're more or less on time. A couple of minutes left, a few minutes left, and we've no more questions. So, anybody got any more before we finish up? Actually, I will blatantly just plug our training session. For those who don't know, we're training over at CIDC later in the year. Oh, Paul's just asked he'd like to go on the beta of that report control. Of course, no problem, Paul. As I say, we've got a lot on this month, but equally I need that. I could actually do with that being done before the training session at the start of March. So it probably will be out in beta before then, if truth be told. So yes, no problem. No problem at all. We are training over at CIDC this year with Capesoft. Not with Capesoft, basically at the same time. Your tickets, if you're going to the CIDC event, which hopefully you are, can't recommend it enough. Your tickets will get you entry to both training sessions and recordings and so on, and streaming to both sessions. So you can sit at one and stream the other. So you won't miss a beating. So you've got that. But the start of March, we're also having a UK event. People can attend online. We'll be streaming that, and you'll get the recordings, of course. Or you can attend, which I do encourage people to do. The dates are the 7th and 8th of March. So hopefully, if you can, people, spread the word. John and Mary from OnoSoft, and John, you'll also know him from Clarion Live every week.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've heard of him. John, as I say, John and Mary from OnoSoft are flying all the way across from Washington. I know Bill's already attending, so Bill, you're going to be up at what, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? It's going to be an early start for you. So, but
I would have to set my alarm early.
But you'll get the recordings. So if you do nod off, hopefully you don't, but if you do nod off, then you will get the recordings. But yes, please spread the word. We're trying to encourage as many people to be involved as possible. We've kept prices extremely low for for 2 days training online. It's £175, and if you're in attendance, it's £250. The difference obviously covers your lunches and the venue and so on and so forth. So we've purposely kept, and that's for the both days, not each day. That's both days. So we've purposely kept prices quite reasonable to try and encourage people to attend. So please spread the word, and let's get more people interested.
Yes, Andy, I just want to report back that the theme was the problem. Once I changed the theme, then the tooltip displayed. So just want to report back.
Okay, you see, okay, brilliant. And the reason I mentioned the theme is different themes have different. They all abide by the Office, I used to call Office Ribbon user license agreement, and it might be not necessarily Ribbon. I think it might be just Office 20 whatever. But they all have their own basically standards that they adhere to. For example, icons in the calendar. Icons in the 2010 theme are allowed. Icons in the 2013 and the 2016 theme aren't allowed. Custom icons aren't allowed. So the different themes have different characteristics. And this isn't me, and realistically, it's probably not even CodeJock. It will be working to the constraints that Microsoft have imposed on their themes. So if you want to use what is considered Microsoft's theme 2016, then you're probably limited by their their allowances, if you will, their experience. So that's why I said to mention check the theme.
That was good. That was a good tip for Tooltip.
Yes, of course. Tooltip, yes. For anybody just joined in wondering what we're about, it's a report control tooltip.
Yes, thank you. All right, great.
Okay. Any other questions, or shall we wrap it up? No more questions. We are literally on time to the second. So until next week. Thanks, guys. Watch out for the updates this week. I'll post the announcements on all the usual places: user groups, RSS feed, website, Facebook, LinkedIn. God, there's too many places. So yes, basically we'll go onto and the Skype chat. It will go onto all the usual places. So watch for the announcements, and then you can download the latest. Okay, until next week. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.